Hi, welcome to Forgotten Curiosities. I'm Pooja, and I like to make things. All kinds of stuff. I have been a jack of all trades craft person since forever. Wherever the hyperfocus takes me, there I go. And unfortunately, this time it took me to remembering that I'm an adult. And with being an adult comes all kinds of paperwork. And generally, like I think a lot more people than the magazines would want me to think, I have been keeping my papers kind of just all in piles and then shoved into drawers and in different other places. And that sucks. It sucks when I need to find something. Every new year comes around and I have to do my taxes and I'm rifling through everything, or health insurance, or whatever it is. So I decided that the perfect way for me to want to deal with all of my papers and have them in a nice way was to make a piece of furniture that I am really interested and excited to use. Well, okay, excited is stretching it a bit, but basically I'm going to take a file cabinet and I'm going to give it a steamer trunk makeover. One of the things I've been thinking about this year is how I want my rooms to look. And my office, I want to take in more of a fantasy train vibe. And this piece will, I think, fit in perfectly with that. So there's the inspiration. We'll see how close I get. So this is the filing cabinet I was able to get. It's in pretty good condition, and honestly, I don't mind doing everything I'm about to do to it. It's not so nice that I would feel bad. Also, it's very cheap, so perfect. This is the fabric I have. I'm gonna apply it to all sides of the filing cabinet, obviously cutting for the drawers so that they actually still open. And then I got this hardware, so like a new lock, corners, these little guys that'll hold straps down, new handles, and the lock is unfortunately like twice as big as the lock that was on there, but I'm just gonna drill a larger hole and I think that'll end up fine. It'll slide right in. Other than that, it fits. I checked for it once. Then along the edges, once I square them off, I'm going to put leather strapping, and that'll be held into place with these corners and the other little brackets. Now, the thing about this fabric is I don't actually have quite enough yardage to go over the top well, but I should be able to piece something together, and I'm gonna put straps of leather across the top to cover the joint. So as long as I can pattern match and okay, I think we'll be good. First thing on the agenda is dealing with the top here. This isn't quite flush. There's like a 1/16 of an inch lip on both sides. And then this rounded front also has a little lip. So I'm gonna take those off with my saw so I can get a nice flush edge. And then since I'm gonna be applying the fabric to it, I'll basically seal the cut sides with a thing of glue. And while all that is drying, I'm going to take these drawers, because they're just this kind of, it's fine, I guess. But they'd be so much better if I painted them black. So we're gonna do that.
So obviously before I could get to the spray painting part of this, I had to take apart the filing cabinet, or as much as I was going to. Basically, I just took out the drawers by pulling them all the way out, reaching for the little black lever that's inside the slider, pushing one of them up, one of them down, pulling all the way out. They came out fairly easily, which is more than I could say for these safety stickers at the base of the drawer. So ridiculous. I wasn't able to get them all the way off, but I just did my best, and it worked out fine in the end. Especially because it's all going to be covered up by, my masses of paperwork that adulthood comes with. I don't know how many years those little assembly stickers had been on there. It was funny just to see I could have disassembled the whole thing and put it back together, I suppose, but there was no way I was doing that. I ended up saving the screws from the drawer fronts because I like the black ones better than the ones that came with the new handles, which were kind of like this coppery, nickel-y looking metal. Either way, light colored metal. I also took off all of the edging it was mostly loose, but anything just to give it a flat surface. Took off what was falling off and scraped off the rest. And here's where we get to the fun part. I found this can of black spray paint on my shelf. I have no idea where it came from. I don't know when I got it. I didn't even recognize the brand. I was like, where did this even come from? But matte black spray paint, awesome. It felt like a full can. So I went ahead and started spraying the cabinets. And I did this outside, but with a respirator because I like having lungs that are not full of spray paint residue, like aerosol gas off. And yes, you can see my camera in my pocket, which before I started this, I was definitely like, man, I should charge this before I get started, and then proceeded to forget about. As you can see, I am not quite done spray painting yet. I am, however, out of spray paint. Let that be a lesson to everyone. Don't just rely on the can of spray paint that you happen to find on your shelf that you're not sure where you got or when you got it to be enough for the project. Either way, going to pick up some more and get that spray painting finished before it gets dark. Quick update, spray painted it. I'm deep into trust the process right now. But yeah, I mean, the insides are black. It looks good. I'm happy about it. I probably could have used a third can of spray paint to make it ultra slick or whatever, but honestly, all of the parts that aren't are going to be covered by fabric. So it works out. Next up is to cut the fabric and
start getting all of that attached, and then I can work on the leather, and I'm really excited about that because I think it's gonna look really, really good. Oh, I also drilled out this hole larger for the new lock. It is going to be a little bit proud, but there's a little ring that goes on the outside. I just haven't put that on yet because I wanted to get the fabric attached first. Cool. Gonna get into it.
I would have loved to spray all of that Spray 77 outside rather than inside my craft room, but it was almost 100 degrees again, so that wasn't happening. Was nice though not to have to deal with the wind while I was doing this. One of the nice things about working with Spray 77 is there's a relatively long working time on it, so I could reposition stuff, as I often needed to do to try to get straight lines as much as possible, and just line up all of those edges and smooth out the wrinkles, which was much easier than I was afraid it was going to be, thank goodness, because I could have been there forever otherwise. And yes, I realize I have like the black Dexter gloves on again, but the slides were covered in some kind of grease, and then I didn't want Spray 77 all over my hands. Just makes me sad. The drawer fronts were so much easier than I thought they were going to be, which was lovely. Like really giving myself, like I gave myself a pretty wide margin, you can see, to get the fronts covered, and it made it really smooth to just put the fabric on, fold it up, be done.
And the fabric is on. I am super, super happy that I was actually able to get those stripes down the drawers to line up. And while no, I couldn't pattern match from the sides to the front, I think it'll be fine once I put on the little leather detailing, and honestly, I don't mind. I'm also super, super happy that I was able to piece together enough to get the top done. And honestly, like, yes, you can see the little seams in between where I had to put in the new pieces, but considering this back one is 3, I just am really happy. I'm happy that it came out. I'm really excited to move on to doing the leather details. So I did some test strips of different colors, just because, well, I own a bunch. This is the 4 that I thought would probably work best for me. And I did them. I also have like a copper and brass leaf paints, so I did some tests with those as well. This is the Angelus Leather Burgundy, EcoFlow, yes, Salvador. The EcoFlow Medium Brown, EcoFlow Slate Gray, which it just feels like a lie. And then EcoFlow Coal Black. Honestly, that turned out a little bit more on the slate gray spectrum, but either way, I'm not using either of those. It's really, I also did tested it using just the dye itself and then a watered down version. And for me, it comes down to one of these two. So that's either the burgundy straight from the bottle or a watered down version of the medium brown. And here is kind of the idea. I'm going to cover up this entire strip with a piece of the leather, and then the brass cap will go directly on it like that. There we go. And then this is a little like deeper and redder, I think closer to this color, than what you're really getting in camera. And here is the light brown. I also, while I was at it, basically added just a line of like PVA glue along all the edges of the fabric to act as a fray check. And then I'm gonna go in and trim up all the little loose threads. And that way it won't just continue to unravel all over the place, and I'll have like a nice, neater edge than what I ended up with so far. Cool. Well, I think it is about time for me to make a decision. So I realized that I hadn't talked at all about what I was using for the leather on this project. Basically, I have this large piece of veggie tan leather that I got from Tandy when it was on sale, I believe. I've used a piece of it to make some gifts, some embossed keychains, a passport holder, things like that. And it's just been sitting in my closet since then because I have not had the urge to do another leatherworking project, but it is the perfect thing for this. And I'm just gonna cut some strips for it at the appropriate sizes and get on with it.
I've seen people be able to like mark out their stuff and then just cut it really easily, not having to worry about getting a straight line at all. I am epically incapable of doing that. Even with a ruler, it's kind of difficult for me to get a straight line, especially ones as long as I needed to put on the sides of this filing cabinet. I can only imagine what would have happened had I not been using this yardstick. I got into leatherworking like I get into most of my crafts, which is I found a single project that I wanted to do really, really badly and learned everything I needed to do that. And then what's funny is like, I have that situation every couple of years, figure something out, learn all the new skills I need to, come put it away for the next 2 years. I would love to be one of those people who can just continually do a bunch of different things all throughout the years. But I'm not that person. And so we get project-based interest. Here, I'm just beveling the edges of all the strips because if you bevel on both sides of it, it'll give it a nice like angle coming out, and you can get a nice rounded corner later when you burnish the edges with the like beeswax on a little wooden stick and polish it until it's all nice and smooth. And now we get to the dyeing part, which, sorry for the lighting change, the sun went down while I was cutting all the straps. I wouldn't recommend using daubers to dye pieces this large. Use a sponge or a paintbrush. When I first started leatherworking, I bought a box of daubers and it came with 500 of them, so I will be using them for the rest of my life. The nice thing is in this case, like I wasn't being precious about getting a solid color finish. I wanted some dimensionality and to add a little bit of interest in that way to the final paint on the strapping. So it made it pretty simple. The downside was once I had gotten my first 2 coats on, I realized that I was completely out of the burgundy dye. Luckily, I was able to do the edges, but it did mean that the straps on the back I did in black instead. I was really, this project, only slightly cursed. After that, I just sealed up everything using a tan coat to protect the leather and burnished up the edges with some Tokonole, which makes it so much easier than when I was using beeswax. After I finished the leather and let it all dry, I also had to cut a groove into the back of each of the pieces to make sure it went over the corners properly, because otherwise I just couldn't get that kind of angle. And then I started applying with all my hardware and I was super, super excited. And then when I started working with it, I don't know, I just never opened up the little pack of nails before I needed to use them. And yeah, that was kind of a problem. So I'm sorry that I didn't record any of the process of me putting the hardware on this thing, but I'll show you why in a sec. And then we'll get to see the final reveal.
Quick check-in from the next day. I thought I was going to get this done yesterday or last night. I was all raring to go. And then I went to add on the hardware and these nails. The only way I can put them on, I can't hold them and hammer them in. I have to use this pair of tweezers. Size comparison here. Tweezers, the tiny little nails. But I am powering through. I'm going to get this done today.
And here she is in all of her glory. I'm super, super happy with how this came out. So proud of myself for lining up those stripes, even if the fabric is a little wavy in parts. I ended up bending the hardware into different shapes to get it to be exactly where I wanted. And now we have all the hopes that this will inspire me to be more organized with my paperwork rather than just leaving it in piles, shoving it into drawers. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see me make more weird projects, consider subscribing, and I will see you on the next one.